Jesse with your Pro Bowl podcast. If you don't want to get benched this season, don't strike out. Hit that like button, swing at the subscribe button, and hit a home run on that notification bell.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We're incredibly thrilled to welcome and announce and introduce Freddie Freeman, wife Chelsea, their boys, and their entire family into ours. Today is an incredibly exciting day. I can't say enough about ownership, the position that they put us in on an annual basis to go out and not only play in, but be in a position to win the last game of the year. And today, obviously, our chances for that went way up. And so with that, it is my pleasure to formally introduce Freddie Freeman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I take this. Thank you.
This looks good.
Yeah, it does.
Rookie mistake button them
Yeah,
all
it's
up.
all right. It's official. There'll be still some of those, huh?
That's good. All the time we spent preparing for him, I don't know what we're going to do with our extra time. We have so much extra time. That's good.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, very much.
Turn around, give him some love.
Yeah. Whew.
Freddie, first, just welcome to the
Thank you.
Dodgers. It came down to a few different offers at the end. Why was the Dodgers the right fit for you?
Well, I think everyone knows that my story. I am from Southern California, so when it came down to picking a team at the end, I have a 67-year-old dad and I got an 86-year-old grandfather that's not going to be able to watch me play every single day. So that was one of the leading factors. And then just talking with Andrew and Doc before the lockout, and then getting to talk to him a little bit more as the process went on when it was lifted, just how much family means to them is obviously a huge factor in my decision. And being home and getting to play in front of my family, that was what made me decide to be a Dodger.
And Andrew, from your side, just why was it so important to make this deal official and get Freddie Freeman as a Dodger?
Well, I mean, I think what he does on the field is obvious to everyone. The impact, we've competed against them, 3 of the last 4 years in the playoffs, and the stress, the innings before he comes up. The lineup kind of orbits around him, and you're like, okay, if we get the 7-hole hitter out here, it gives us a chance to not have to face Freddie the next inning. So, obviously, the impact he has in the lineup, what he does in the field, his desire to play 162, how much he cares about winning, all of that is obvious and goes without saying. But I think anytime you're making an investment of this magnitude, I think the human, the family, talking to him, just how much that came through, you see it from afar. But we couldn't be more excited to add him as a staple in the middle of our lineup for years to come.
And Freddie, knowing the relationship you have with your family, what was the first thing your dad said to you when the decision became official?
Well, when the last week has been a little bit of a whirlwind, so we've been we didn't know when it was going to happen. We've been talking for a few days, so my dad was coming over every single night to my house, seeing if we'd get the call and get it settled. So it's so exciting, to be able to come home. I grew up here. I went to Medina High School in Orange, and now I'm going to be playing very close to there again. So it's just, family is everything to me. And, we got the deal done after my dad had already gone home, though. So I had to call him on FaceTime and told him it was a done deal. But it's been special. The last week has been, I think we're all humans here. It's been a whirlwind, for all of us as a family. So, but I don't want to be anywhere else right now. This is home.
This is for both of you. At what point in the process did you guys think this was a realistic possibility for this day to happen?
You want to go first or me?
You go first. I'll
Okay.
draft off of it.
Well, so prior to the lockout, I think we talked probably around Thanksgiving, maybe just a couple days after Thanksgiving for our first. We Zoomed Andrew and Doc, and we just talked for about an hour and a half, and it was just such an easy conversation. I think we all knew the situation I was in, and they were very upfront and just they cared about where I was coming from and how long I was there, and they just cared about family. I expressed family and winning is all I really care about, and that's what they care about too. So the interest was there, and I think we got to give an assist to Justin Turner. His name popped up on my phone quite a bit throughout this whole process. So I think the severe interest was there prior to the lockout, and then after the lockout was lifted, it started to heat up real fast after that.
Yeah, it's something that is easy to want. It's obvious. But from our standpoint, just not appreciating how things would play out. We had that great conversation with him, but we knew, the ties that he had, and we respected it and appreciated it. And then just before the lockout at Mookie's wedding, Doc, JT, and I walked outside, 10 minutes before the deadline, before everything went dark, and just said, hey, don't forget about us. During this period, just don't forget about us.
I was feeding my son a bottle at that time, too.
And so we actually left a live music performance of Nelly to walk out and make that call. It would have taken a lot to get us to do that, but Freddie was definitely worth it. And so coming out of the lockout, these things are always so difficult to handicap. Deals are tough to line up on. But I would say, Monday night into Tuesday, we felt like there was a real chance of something happening. And, fortunately, we were able to keep kind of working through it. Really appreciate the work Casey and Vic did on this. And the communication was there. And at that point, we felt like Freddie wanted to be here, and we really wanted Freddie here. And I think whenever those two things line up, it greatly increases the chances of it happening.
Freddie, you almost make it sound like a normal free agency for you, but other than the lockout. But you were the face of a franchise that just won the World Series. Most people didn't think you'd be leaving. When did you kind of come around to that idea? Was it even a year ago that you might test the waters, or is it right after the season?
Well, that's a good. I've been trying to think about how this was going to go in my head and with these questions, but I think you spend 15 years in an organization, 12 in the big leagues. A lot of memories are made. When things didn't happen last offseason coming into spring training, and nothing really happened in spring training as well until a couple of days before opening day, and nothing was really coming to fruition. You kind of, as the season went on, there was no talk, so you figured this is what was going to happen and get to free agency. And when you get to free agency, all things are kind of off. All bets are off. So I got there, and as the offseason went on, I got to talk to a lot of amazing baseball people in this game, and that was pretty special. It was not the normal free agency. I didn't think I'd ever, get to free agency. If we're being honest about it, but I did, and I just tried to take a step back and just take it all in and just hear what people and other teams had to say. And ultimately it came down to wanting to come home. I wanted to come home. If it wasn't going to be the Braves, I think that was the best decision. And when the team that plays at home wants you to come home too, I think that's what made it such a special and easy decision.
Freddie, is there part of you that is surprised at how it all played out, and that, because I know you were very vocal about wanting to be in Atlanta?
Yeah, I think you can all. We're all human beings. If you're going to spend someplace for 15 years, there's going to be emotions and everything like that. I think I've been pretty honest throughout the whole 2021 season. When I was a Brave, that I still and prior to that I thought I was going to spend my whole career there. But ultimately, sometimes plans change, and plans did change, and I think we I think my family and I, it was a whirlwind of a process, especially when the lockout lifted. The things moved fast in a whole bunch of different ways that we weren't really expecting. I think we can all just say that as the truth. So ultimately, you just never knew how it was going to play out in free agency. But once you got there, things started going, and then when the lockout lifted, they made their decision to make the trade, and then at that point, it was just time to come home.
Andrew, did you have a sense going into the offseason that getting Freddie would be a possibility, or were you kind of expecting that he would end up back in Atlanta, and kind of when did it hit you that, okay, there's something serious there that you guys can pursue?
Yeah, again, it's obvious, the desire, that part's easy. The likelihood, I think going into the offseason probably felt like it was pretty slim, just for a combination of different reasons. But after the conversation, the Zoom we had, it wasn't surprising in that we knew a lot about Freddie, his family, like in the digging and understanding. So the conversation wasn't enlightening in that way, but I think there was a connection, just kind of shared interests, values, desires, that definitely strengthened it on our end. And still thinking it wasn't all that likely. I don't know exactly how to handicap it. And even coming out of the lockout, the first call I made was to Kirsch, and then after that was to Casey, who represents both guys, and so brought it up immediately, but not really knowing what all was going on the other side. But the interest was genuine, and from our standpoint, we just stayed at it and kept having conversations. And then, again, I felt like Monday night the chances increased by however much, Tuesday even more so, and then Wednesday, obviously, we got the great news.
Freddie.
I think those are the days. I don't even know what today is, but I think those were the days.
Freddie, when it didn't work out with the Braves, I was kind of wondering what your emotional state was at that time. Was it disappointment? Was it hurt? Were you upset? And what was the process of getting from that to where you are right now and your feelings about playing for the Dodgers?
I think Monday, the emotions were all over the place, to be honest. I got the news when I was at workout that the trade had happened. I had no idea that was going to happen or anything like that. So when I got told, the emotions were all over the place. We're all human. When you spend someplace for 15 years and you see that chapter had got closed right then and there, that I was all over the place. I didn't really speak for a couple hours, just trying to figure it all out, like what was going on. So the emotions have gone all over the place. And then a couple of days later, we started talking, and then the excitement creeped in, the excitement to be able to come home. And when that door got closed, there was a couple of other teams that made a strong push at the end, but ultimately talking to Chelsea and, Charlie was pretty excited to be a Dodger too. So we just wanted to, we wanted to come home when that door got closed. So my family's going to get to watch me play every day like 15 years ago. So this is pretty special.
What'd you make of Antopoulos' tears? Antopoulos' tears.
I saw him. Yeah, that's all I'll say.
And Andrew, just one quick question for you. Between Betts and now with Freeman, you have two guys that are going to be kind of signed, right, like long term. Obviously, Urias, Buehler coming up in the coming years. How much, I guess, your ability to maybe do this is kind of a reflection of what you have in the minor league system and your belief that, you guys will be able to make up a decent amount of your roster, from the players that you have in-house right now?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot. I think you look back over the last 10, 15, 20 years, and there are a lot of large revenue teams who've had success and then fallen off a cliff. And what's really difficult is to be able to sustain it over an extended period of time. And I think having the right people, having the right core, and then having a scouting and player development group, our pro staff, the moves we've been able to make to continue to augment. You look at the last 5 years, there's been a decent amount of roster turnover, as there is everywhere, and only made possible for us to stay at the level we have and to have the future outlook that we have is ownership, and then our baseball operations staff and the work that they do has put us in position where I could argue that the next 5 years outlook is better than what we accomplished over the previous 5. And so for us to be able to do that and to keep that going, speaks to the position that ownership puts us in, but also the amazing work being done by so many different people.
So Fred, even with the Dodgers jumping in other teams in hot pursuit, up until that trade, did you still think you were going back to Atlanta?
I always thought I hadn't signed anywhere, so there's always a possibility. But the communication wasn't all there in the off season. I got 2 phone calls all off season, so I got more from Andrew to my agents in a matter of a couple hours. So I didn't know what was going on. I got 1 call the day before the lockout of a checking in, and I got 1 call when the lockout was lifted, just checking in. So I don't know how to interpret that, but that's just the reality of what was going on. So when the Dodgers and other teams expressed interest and wanted to communicate and want to get me here, that was huge for me. Once the lockout lifted and my agents and Andrew connected, things just started moving quicker when the Monday deal went down.
And at any time during the season, or particularly in LCS, did you ever envision yourself that you could be playing for the Dodgers?
At that time I was trying to beat the Dodgers. No, like at that time I'm just, trying to win a World Series, and I'm very thankful that we were able to accomplish that last year. When you spend such a long time in an organization, to be able to finally accomplish that, I'm forever grateful for my time there and what we accomplished last year.
And maybe this wasn't in the NLCS, but definitely over the years, every time Justin Turner got to first base, he'd have a little word with him about how good he'd look in Dodger blue.
Yes, I think that was about 5 years running.
Yes, I think there's definitely tampering charges that could be filed against Justin Turner.
Freddie, it's going to be tough to beat the Dodgers this season. Looking at that lineup, it's being called one of the greatest of all time. Have you had a chance to take a look at it and realize how incredibly dangerous it'll be?
Yeah, I saw it on, I think MLB Network put my name in there, sitting in the middle of the lineup, but there is a lot of all-stars just sitting down that lineup, but this is the game of baseball and you still got to go out and play. So we do have a really talented roster and lineup, so it should be fun. Hopefully we can score a lot of runs because we got the guys to be able to do it.
Yeah, and I think all of us fully appreciate that the game's not played on paper. If it was, then obviously things would be a lot different. But the chemistry, the culture, how these guys come together, I think Freddie is going to fit in so well and help augment what's already a really strong core and dynamic that's going to allow us to play up to and even exceed our talent level based on that.
Last ones. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, family picture. Thank you, Andrew, very much. Thank you. Charlie, we're going to take one more picture.
Was, of course, the face of the Braves franchise for years, and earlier in the day, he posted a farewell message to Atlanta fans saying this, quote, "Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has been a blast to have you cheer for me, and I hope I was able to bring smiles to a lot of your homes over the years. I gave everything I had day in and day out, and I hope you guys saw that as well." Freeman, of course, adding even more star power to an already stacked Dodger roster. Thankfully, there will be a designated hitter in the National League this season, making room for one more big bat in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, almost every single person on the Dodger lineup is a former All-Star, some of them former MVPs.
3 of them in this starting lineup.
Are you saying
It's
World
really,
Series, here we come?
Well, you talk about starting off the season really well, and depth is so critical. We've seen the injuries. We saw a lot of them last season. When you've got this much depth in your lineup, that's only beneficial.
So I don't know if you enjoy saying "I told you so," but I don't know if anybody was watching us at 6 o'clock tonight. Kyle was out reporting at Crypto.com Arena,
That's right.
and I had a feeling this was going to happen. Take a look. Tonight's going to be the night, Kyle. When you're back here at 10, you're going to get to report on Freddie Freeman coming to the Dodgers. Throwing that in the universe.
Heard it
All
here.
right. Okay.
See how that works out. It worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Fox 11's going to win the lottery. The people here.
If you conjure these kind of vibes up, we would really appreciate
that out there.
You letting us know in
Yeah,
advance.
very cool. All right,
Well
great
done.
night for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Great to see you, Kyle.
Time for the hometown guy. All right.
This is Jesse with the Improbable Podcast. Freddie Freeman coming at you.
One free agent out there for the Braves, Freddie Freeman.
He is a dangerous man. And long gone by Freddie Freeman. Is this happening? It is. The Atlanta Braves are world champions. Freddie Freeman's left the yard and put the Braves on top. That is a monster match out of Freddie Freeman. A thing of beauty for number 5.
Since 2007. You went through some lean years, some crazy times this year, and now you are a World Series champion. What does this moment mean to you?
I don't know, Ken. I'm at lost for words. This is it. This is everything you worked for. I mean, we're in November right now, and we've been doing this since February, and we've had so many ups and downs this year. And for us to be world champions, Ken, that is awesome to hear.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. Scratches, dents, and dings on your car? That's right. There's a non sequitur. Look it up. When life throws you uh-ohs, just say, better get Mako. Go to Mako.com today.
Freddie Freeman, after being all those years with the Atlanta Braves, he is now a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. 6 years, $162 million deal.
But the Dodgers kind of made the most sense once the Braves locked up Matt Olson, and then that's where things landed.
Buster Olney, ESPN MLB Insider, joins us now on Keyshawn J. Willimax on ESPN Radio Sirius XM Channel 80. Buster, good morning. What did this come out of left field? Were you expecting this Freddie Freeman contract with the Dodgers? What happened here?
Yeah, I mean, based on what I'd heard during over the lockout and just before they got to that, and how the negotiations between the Braves and Freddie had hit an impasse, and there was a sense in the Freeman camp that he might have to go someplace else. I'm not surprised. But when you see the final numbers, I would say this, and I'm really curious to see, what each side said, if both sides talk about how the negotiations play out. I am surprised that in the end that he didn't land with the Braves. When you see, he got $162 million from the Dodgers, and I got to say, as the game of musical chairs played out, I think the Dodgers kind of bailed him out a little bit. I don't think he had a lot of, big contractual options. Once the Braves made the deal for Olson, once the Yankees decided he was too expensive, the Blue Jays trade for Matt Chapman yesterday, he gets $162 million. When you apply the state tax in California, and my sense of where the Braves were willing to go, they really weren't that far apart. So whoever that's on, we'll wait and see and hear the voices. But it's surprising that he didn't wind up signing with the Braves.
And that surprised Buster, and you talked about taxes and all the other things, and they were close. Did going back home play a part, getting back to California play a big part in this?
I think his absolute preference was to stay with the Braves, Key, and I know that because in the aftermath of everything that played out earlier this week, where the Braves make the move on Olsen and slam the door shut and Freddie coming back, he did communicate to others in the Braves organization how upset he was that it turned out that he wasn't back in their camp. But the Dodgers were always the strong second option, I think, because he gets to go back to his home state. He goes to a team that's going to compete for a championship every year. And the Dodgers are known, like the Braves, for having a great clubhouse. In the last few days, there's been talk about, the Tampa Bay Rays might make a run at Freddie. They may be more aggressive than what people realize. And whenever I'd hear that, I'd go, really? Like, Freddie's going to go from playing in that great baseball atmosphere in Atlanta to going and playing his home games in a place where there's more cowbells than fans? No way. So to go back to the Dodgers makes complete sense given how it played out with the Braves.
Buster Only, ESPN Baseball Insider, joining us this morning on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Buster, where does this lineup, when the lineup is set, where would this lineup stack up historically in baseball? Because I have my own theories and thoughts when I look at the Dodgers historically with lineups, but where do you stack this up at?
I got to say, because remember, we're looking at it from 30,000 feet, where the Dodgers were at the end of the last regular season and where they are going into this year. I don't think it's that much different because they lost Corey Seager, and Freddie's a great hitter. He's such an unusual hitter with that style of hitting the ball left center field as a left-handed hitter. But having him in that lineup is certainly, with Max Muncy, assuming that he's able to come back, Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, who is an MVP-style candidate. It was strong at the end of last year, and it'll be strong going into this year. Is it one of the best lineups we've ever seen? Not necessarily. I think they are where they were when they won the World Series.
Mm-hmm. ESPN Baseball Insider Buster Olney join us here on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Buster, what else or what other moves should we keep an eye on?
Number one on the board, big board, no question, is Trevor Story, who is he and Carlos Correa, I should say. The two elite shortstops are still on the board. Correa is in negotiations with the Astros, who made him two offers last year. He turned it down. He talked about the Astros almost like in past tense at the end of the World Series last fall. But in this moment, it might make sense for him to go back there because I don't think there are any big market teams that are out there right now with $300 million to spend. So maybe he tries to work it out to go back to Houston. And I'm just pulling numbers out of the air. Let's say 6 years, $210 million, but with an opt-out after the first year, which would allow Carlos potentially to go back out into the marketplace and get the $300 million deal. And Trevor Story, maybe he's in competition for that opening with the Astros. Minnesota Twins have been connected with him. Those are the two big names that are going to fall here, I think, in the next 72, 96 hours.
Buster, I'm thinking of the Freddie Freeman signing, and I'm a Yankees fan. I think about the Mark Teixeira signing for the Yankees. It's similar to me, similar point in their career, similar kind of level of player, et cetera. Yankees won a World Series with that deal, but draft compensation they lost turned out to be Mike Trout that went to the Angels, right? So, there's always that kind of calculation that teams have to make. What has the reaction been across baseball to Chris Bryant signing a 7-year, $182 million deal with the Rockies?
Absolute shock. I tweeted out last night on a scale of 1 to 10, the shock in the industry is at an 11. Because a lot of teams were wondering if Chris Bryant, because of what's gone on in his career and the trajectory of it in recent years, whether he would even get $100 million. And then you have the Rockies, who wound up dealing away Nolan Arenado and eating a lot of that contract in that deal with the St. Louis Cardinals, nearly doubling the type of numbers that people expected because Chris, had some bad years in recent years. There had been a question about, it doesn't look like he's as good at third base as he used to be. It doesn't look like he's going to be someone who's going to be serviceable as an outfielder into his mid to late 30s. And now you have a situation where if he's going to play the outfield in Colorado, it's the biggest outfield in baseball. And so people with other teams, immediately after the news of that broke yesterday, were texting me going, What is going on? Have they seen the last few years? It's like they weren't watching baseball.
Yeah, but it's nuts. They must have an analytics department that says, in Mile High, he's going to hit 1 million home runs. Buster Olney, ESPN MLB insider from Braves spring training. Thanks as always, Buster. Great to hear from you.
All right, Buster.
Thanks, guys. Good to talk with you.
What version of Michael Jordan in 2021? Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman, who's like clockwork every year. And you know what once upon a time, Eddie Murray or Mark Teixeira or one of these dudes who every year at first base can hit right in the middle of your order, pick it at first base. 6 years, $162 million with your Los Angeles Dodgers, Keyshawn Johnson. The Dodgers,
yes, that is correct.
Yeah. The Dodgers would be the 6th team in Major League Baseball history with 3 MVPs from the previous 4 seasons. Like teams, you could say, he won an MVP 15 years ago. No, 3 of the last 4 MVPs are now on the Dodgers.
Yeah, this is go ahead, Max.
Well, the Big Red Machine, when we were little kids, Keith, Big Red Machine was impossible, right? The Cincinnati, Pete Rose, Joe Morgan, Johnny Bench, Tony Perez, George Foster, all these dudes. Well, Joe Morgan, Pete Rose, Johnny Bench were the last time that you had 3 of the last 4 MVPs on the same team. Big Red Machine, by the way, went back-to-back 75, 76. So how are you feeling, Key, about your Dodgers?
I'm good. Pat Costello asked me this morning, what do you think about the Freddie Freeman signing? I said, we got a first baseman that can bat in the middle of the order, left-hander. That works great for us. He was like, you just got a former NL MVP. I know. We're getting rich all the time in Dodgerland. I think this is a huge he's coming home. He's from California. It's a huge pickup for us. Typically, as you know, Max, we do not spend money in open free agency. And before anyone says Mookie Betts, no. Mookie Betts was traded to us, and he became a free agent, and we re-signed him, opposed to going out and spending big money on guys. The last guy that I could think of might have been Brown, the pitcher that we spent that $100 million on, and that went
Kevin Brown.
That went south on us.
Yeah, because you lose draft pick compensation when you just go out and sign a Type A free agent. This way,
no, you don't. You don't lose draft compensation.
Yeah, when you sign a guy you're going to lose draft. But that's one of the reasons teams like the Dodgers don't do it.
You meant when? I'm sorry, I thought you meant when we signed Kevin Brown.
No.
Yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, no, but we also, from a payroll standpoint, the luxury tax has been one of those things that the Dodgers, I think, didn't believe in until they signed the big Spectrum deal, and then all of a sudden they don't mind being over the luxury tax and going right up against it because there's so much money that's out there. But in terms of first basemen, I was trying to think in my head, who have we had at first base that I can remember outside of Steve Garvey? We had Eddie Murray, but Eddie Murray was at the end. He was just hanging on farewell tour.
By the way, he had a great season for you that one. He hit like 330 one year with power.
But we had Greg Brox and Sid Breams, and then we had Looney for a minute there. But other than that, we've been searching for first basemen. I know Cody Bellinger can certainly play that spot when we needed him to, but for the most part, he's an outfielder, but this solidifies our infield, no question about it.
Aesop Choi, you're right. Like, there's been no great first baseman for the Dodgers, great ones that I can recall since Garvey.
Well, I'm glad you guys got some positive news last night in L.A. because the game I watched last night was not positive by the Lakers.
Hey, man, watch out.
Well, the Lakers did lose again. L.A. is City of Champions, but the Lakers did lose again after an air ball by Russell Westbrook. Karl Anthony Towns is seen.
I don't know if there is words for that. What a crazy year. I showed up late to spring training because...
This is Jesse with the Improbable Podcast. Freddie Freeman's future coming at you.
I knew that there was a potential of something happening. I can't say enough about the A's organization, what they've done for me. I've been here since 2012, so almost 10 years, my whole baseball career, and it's bittersweet leaving. Obviously, I know Atlanta is an amazing place, World Series champs, my hometown. So, if there was one place to go and leave here, that's the place to do it. So, like I said, bittersweet, but excited about what's to come.
And the A's
receiving a bunch of prospects, and we'll learn a little bit more about what Oakland got when we bring in our big gun, Jim Bowden, who joins us live here on HQ. Jim, before we get into who those guys are that Oakland is getting in return, tell us what this does for the Braves and why they did it.
Well, they wanted to bring Freddie Freeman back. They made significant offers to bring him back. However, they felt like it was not going to happen, and they decided to pivot and make the trade for Matt Olson, who, quite frankly, is 3 years younger than Freddie Freeman and extremely talented in the middle of his prime years, only 27 years old. And as you mentioned, 39 homers last year, 111 RBIs, a Gold Glove defender at first base. So, the Braves have this run right now where they can win back-to-back World Championships. They're going to have Ronald Acuna back sometime in May. To have Acuna and Olson in the middle of the lineup, they just couldn't wait for Freeman, who appears possibly be heading to the Los Angeles Dodgers, according to some of my sources. They seem to be pretty close to doing a deal. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But for Atlanta, to go from Freeman to Olson, not much of a loss as they try to repeat their championship.
And you've confirmed this deal, Jim, and it's likely the end of the Freddie Freeman era in Atlanta, though some would say, hey, we've got the universal DH now. Any chance that the Braves could bring him back as a DH?
No, but I was told that they are moving on from Freeman because they couldn't get a deal done. The window to trade for Matt Olson was closing on them. They knew they had to pull the trigger. And quite frankly, they were able to come up with a deal that they were comfortable with. Now, there's a lot of people that are going to criticize them for giving up their top two prospects, and they gave up two really good defensive players, and that's what Oakland gets back in this deal. Shea Langeliers, the catcher, former number one pick, is a tremendous defensive catcher, can catch and throw. I don't know how much he's going to hit, but defensively, he's got a chance to be a Gold Glove catcher. In center field, you've got Christian Pache. This kid can fly, has great range, is a really good defender. There's a lot of questions on whether or not Christian Pache is going to hit enough. But the Oakland got a really good catcher defensively and a really good defensive center fielder in this deal. And they get two pitching prospects, Ryan Cusick and Joey Essex. Both of those guys should be able to Oakland down the road. So I think Oakland did well here. But for the deep farm system that Atlanta has, they still have a top outfield prospect in Michael Harris, who, quite frankly, I like better than Christian Pache, and they were able to not put him in that deal. So I thought Atlanta did really well in this trade. I know Braves fans will be upset, but looking at the bright side, they've got a world championship, and now they've got a much younger baseman with similar talent.
Matt Olson to the Atlanta Braves, but they gave up some good prospects in return.
Yes, Matt Olson to the Atlanta Braves, which, again, the dominoes start to get pushed around a little bit because that means Freddie Freeman likely not going back to the Atlanta Braves. But it's a pretty good package. We'll talk about this. But Matt Olson, age 28 season coming up. He is one of the top 5 first basemen in all of baseball. He was 3rd in OPS plus in the American League last year. Here's Matt Olson right after this deal this afternoon.
I knew that there was a potential of something happening. I can't say enough about the A's organization, what they've done for me. I've been here since 2012, so almost 10 years, my whole baseball career, and it's bittersweet leaving. Obviously, I know Atlanta is an amazing place, World Series champs, my hometown. So, if there was one place to go and leave here, that's the place to do it. So, like I said, bittersweet, but excited about what's to come.
It's a blockbuster. Olson, again, 9th in WAR last year, slugging first baseman. Mark Bowman from MLB.com saying that Alex Anthopoulos, that's the GM of the Atlanta Braves, held back tears as he discussed having to make that trade that ended Freddie Freeman's tenure in Atlanta. Said it's the hardest thing he's had to do. I guess we'll start there. Dan, they let him get to the end of his contract. He's a franchise player. They signed him to an extension. I'm going to have the shredder on Freddie Freeman later. The more you dig, the more you like the guy. He is a foundation player. They let him get to the end of his deal.
Maybe the Braves just assumed that was a marriage that was going to last forever, and there didn't seem to be. Now, this is just me from the outside looking in. Like, there was a sense of urgency to get Freddie signed after the All-Star break, heading into the postseason. They have this magical run. They win it all. baseball, and it was hard to imagine Freddie Freeman wearing any other uniform than that of the Atlanta Braves. But I felt, Brian, after the World Series was over, that you started hearing rumblings from the inner circles that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't a priority and Freddie Freeman was really going to start to look elsewhere. I really felt, Brian, going into December right before Christmas, I thought it was 50-50 at best that he was going to be back wearing a Braves uniform. They let this go on too long, and I think right now, after the trade today, I don't think there's any way that's going to happen, he being back with the Braves.
You see, the numbers are comparable. Look, they're swapping a 28-year-old first baseman for an age 32 first baseman. Freeman will be going into his age 32 season. But I want to get into the psychology of it. At the World Series, John, and I've mentioned this to a few people, everybody, including like D-Row, Mark DeRosa was there, and he's from Atlanta, saying they're bringing him back in. They've made assurances.
Yeah.
I said, what happens when he gets home and he's now a free agent? He's talking to his wife and he's getting wined and dined, and teams are going to say very nice things about him, to his face, over dinner, and they're going to push money in front of him. I thought he's going to go. So how is this such a surprise? But Braves fans are surprised, aren't they?
They've got to be. I mean, you know, it looked like a marriage that would last forever, but I know Dan has felt this way for a while, just from talking to him, that this was a possibility. This did drag on quite a while. I think in last spring, Freddie Freeman expected to be signed, and he wasn't at that point. So there was some thought at that point that maybe it wouldn't work out. So, you know, I can't say we're shocked. Now, I was a little surprised when it came down like that. I thought Freeman would make the call first, but you know, I understand it's a tough business. You probably like this decision though, because it's a cold decision.
I don't
look
like
at the
cold
numbers.
decisions. No,
there's similar numbers.
Yeah, look, no.
If you take the emotion out of it.
I think, actually, because look, I like, you know, ruthless GMing. We talk about that on this show.
Right.
But I believe when you have drafted, developed, and identified your foundation players, you keep them around forever. That's good business. And if Freddie Freeman aged right in front of them while he's making big money, so be it. They've already gotten all this surplus value out of Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
If you're a new club now, you're like, you don't have that history.
Yeah.
Like, any money I pay you, I need it back. With the Braves, it's not that way. So no, I'm against that. I think you keep your foundation
I'm with
guys.
you on that, because I think that we probably would have just taken that one more year. We think that he was offered around 5 for 140 at some point. Maybe they come up a touch, but not. I don't think they gave that 6th year. But you know, I don't blame Alex Anthopoulos in this at all. This is a decision above him.
If you can't get the money for him, for Freeman, you have to make a move. And if that is the case, well then, Anthopoulos made a fantastic move. He got a top 5 first baseman to replace another top 5 first baseman.
He did. When you break it down, 39 home runs, 111 runs batted in from Matt Olson. Hit 22 of those home runs against left-handed pitching. So he's an everyday guy, really good defensive first baseman. He is a terrific player. With that said, Brian, he is going to have a lot of pressure on him when that season starts, because Freddie Freeman has become a household name. And if he gets off to a slow start, a bad opening weekend, a bad homestand, you're going to start to hear grumblings. Matt Olson is a terrific player. I hope he doesn't go to Atlanta and try to do too much. Do what he's done as a member of the Oakland Athletics, and he'll be just fine. You can't replace Freddie Freeman, but hopefully he can kind of bridge that gap. There's a long-standing relationship between Freddie Freeman and that Braves community, and I'm sure Braves fans right now are a little blindsided by this, because I feel like the staunchest of Braves fans thought, okay, this will go to the last hour, but he will eventually be playing first base for us again.
Is there extra pressure? I mean, he was a schoolboy legend in Atlanta as a high school player.
That helps.
I mean,
that
does that help, or
that helps?
Does that help?
But you're right. Look, Tino Martinez going to the Yankees and replacing Don Mattingly, booed early on, and Tino is the best possible guy. But you're right. I think that helps. But again, Freddie Freeman, it's the best possible representative of your franchise. And by the way, process at the plate, his base running, his fielding, everything points to he will age quite well. We'll dig into that a little bit more. We're going to put Freddie Freeman into the shredder. Matt Olson going to the Atlanta Braves. That means more than likely Freddie Freeman not going back to the World Series champs. A lot of free agents out there, some big ones as well. But there are 2 that stand above the rest: Carlos Correa and Freddie Freeman. These are franchise-changing players. So today, we're putting Freddie Freeman into the shredder. Freddie Freeman is going into his age 32 season. That is significant, and we'll get to that. Overall, last 6 years, he's been overall the very best first baseman in baseball and one of the best hitters in the game. Let's just look at the last 3 years at the position. This includes the shortened 2020 season. Freeman is number 1 in WAR, just barely ahead, by the way, of Matt Olson, who just comes over now to the Braves from the A's, but also number 1 in OPS plus, and far and away number 1 in runs created. That's a volume stat, and Freeman fills that. He rarely misses games. That matters. There are players who put up good rate stats, and then there are players who play all the time and put up good rate stats. There's a difference. Staying healthy, playing through small injuries, being reliable. Manny Machado, Paul Goldschmidt, Freddie Freeman, guys like that. You can go back the last 2 years or the last 6 years, and Freddie Freeman is the major league leader in runs created. Again, that is a cumulative stat for hitting. Going back to 2016, it's Freeman, Betts, Trout, Goldschmidt. So for the past few years at least, Freddie Freeman has not just been an elite first baseman, he's been one of the most valuable players in all of baseball. Now, the only downside is he has done these things age 26 to 31, and he's now turning 32. We've done studies of the good and bad signings on the free agent market in baseball. And on the by and large, what you really want to buy is a 27-year-old shortstop, as young as possible and playing the difficult defensive position. What you want to avoid, then, is the other side of that, a 32-year-old first baseman. That's Freddie Freeman, a player with very attractive hitting stats. These are the big hitters, but whose best years are behind him. So let's take a look at some of the great first basemen of the last generation. These are the top guys. Albert Pujols, age 28 to 31, OPS plus 176. That's monstrous. OPS plus from age 32 to 37, whoops, way down to 115. Miguel Cabrera, in his age 32, 33 seasons, OPS plus way up at 161. But that was his cliff. Age 34 to 38, it's down to 99. Take a good look at that. That is just below league average. League average is 100. Joey Votto, age 32 and 33, big-time hitter. OPS plus 164. 34 to 37, that number is down to 117. Now, Votto bounced back big time last year. I know that, but still a step down on the whole as he gets older. Now, I have to say, I was a bit surprised doing a quick look at some big-time first basemen and the aging process. Paul Goldschmidt looked like he was declining for a little bit there. He bounced back his last 2 years. Those are years age 32 and 33. Jose Abreu looked like he was starting to decline. He bounced back nicely last 2 years, age 33 and 34. So, the prime of a baseball player is still age 26 to age 28. But a big hitting first baseman, and we're talking the elite stars here, seemed to be very productive, age 32 and 33. After that, though, the odds are stacked against them. So Freeman, age 32 coming up, 6-year deal, takes him to about age 37. Now, do we know that Freeman will decline in those years? No, we do not. And I have to say, there are some very good signs of a player who will age well. First of all, Freeman just had the best base running season of his career. His base running runs, this shocked me, plus 3.3. That's a good base runner. There's a reason why he led the league with 120 runs scored last year. It wasn't just his teammates driving him in. He's an effective base runner. And his fielding metrics are still above league average. Defensive metrics at first base are kind of dicey. I get that. And maybe Freeman is better than this, but he was plus 2 in defensive runs saved and plus 3 in outs above average last year. A good base runner and fielder, that guy ages better than an immobile slugger. And at the plate, guys, I want you to look at this. Freeman's process is excellent, and it's getting better. His O-swing percentage was the best of his career in a full season. He's not chasing pitches. His swinging strike percentage was the lowest of any full season in his career. Over the last 2 years, he only has 14 more strikeouts than walks. That's rare these days. Freeman was also number 1 in baseball in expected batting average and 5th in xWOBA, the overall quality of contact and power. I call this the Alan Trammell effect. When I was doing Hall of Fame research on Alan Trammell, should he be a Hall of Famer? Of course, he should have been. I found the deeper I dug on Alan Trammell, the more I liked Alan Trammell. The deeper I dig on Freddie Freeman, the more I like Freddie Freeman, even though he's what I usually don't like, a 32-year-old first baseman.
That was exactly what I was thinking. The only knock you could say on this guy would be age 32.
Yeah.
Every other demographic that you look at referring to his game, whether it's base running, it's hitting, it's swinging the bat, playing the field, whatever it is, it's hard to knock anything he does, just the age being 32 years old.
Yeah, again, Paul Goldschmidt was a guy who was a good fielder and a good base runner, and he still is. Those guys usually age better. I was very heartened as well looking at, hey, how much, it doesn't matter how much money you were going to pay this guy. But O-swing percentage, his control of the strike zone, it's getting better and better.
Yeah, I mean, terrific player, one of the best in the game. There's everything to like about Freddie Freeman. Obviously MVP a couple of years ago, helped them win the World Series last year, very clutch. I mean, I don't even mind the age. I think he's going to be really good going forward, as you've suggested. He's one of the best players in the game, so we shall see what happens to him now. I mean,
what is the market saying essentially about? Because now, again, there's a new age of baseball ops looking at this and going, he's 32, he's a first baseman, we don't like that.
Right, the old days, the 32-year-old. I mean, we saw Pujols get $250 million. Obviously, he's in an all-time great category, but still, 10 years is not there for any 32-year-old anymore. I was surprised that we heard they were in the range of 5 for 140, something like that, a little above Goldschmidt. I thought they would do better than that. I mean, you know, and we'll see where the Dodgers are. They like to go fairly short term, so I don't know they're going to go longer, but they may give him a better AAV, assuming if he goes to the Dodgers. Yankees do want him bad, though. I mean, left-handed bat. They need a left-handed bat. They've been in on this. They have not been confident. But now that it appears we are probably down to 2, I guess you don't know what the Cubs or the Red Sox might be doing, but probably down to 2. They can't consider themselves a long shot anymore, but I would say Dodgers are the favorite.
Well, boy, they just get better and better. I think the Dodgers, again, baseball ops on the by and large, you don't like this, but I think the deeper you dig, the more you go, wait a second, look at what he's doing at the plate. And I'll say this, too. It's not just analytics and the new whiz kids looking at the game the way we talk about the game on this show. Pujols, long-term deal. Prince Fielder, same year, long-term deal. Cabrera, long-term extension. Joey Votto, long-term extension. And within 2 years, everybody's looking at those deals going, oh, boy, wow. And those are the deals that are a weight around a franchise's neck. Not the little deals, not the short-term deals, long-term deals for a guy who's going to be 40.
It is. He's missed a grand total of 7 games in the last 4 years. So if you're worried about availability, this guy is the poster child for a guy that posts up. You can count on him for 150 games plus, unless something happens. You can't look into a crystal ball. He's as sure of a thing for the next few seasons as an everyday player as you can get.
He even said he was a clutch hitter, and I didn't correct him. You see that? Because
you know it's right.
His win probability added is there, and he hits good pitching, and he did it in the playoffs. By the way, Matt Olson, you saw Matt Olson's right up there on the leaderboard with Freddie Freeman. So the Braves replacing him quite nicely, and here's who they get. A's on the other side, Ryan Cusick, Joey Estes, Shea Langoliers, and Christian Pache. What do we think of the A's, by the way, are very good at making trades. They gave up a lot here, but how they have stayed relevant and basically a 90 to 95 win team over the last couple of years. I know last year they dipped back down, but they're still a winning club. They do well on these trades.
Yeah, I mean, they've been a 90-win team for the majority of years over the last 20 years. They do an incredible job. Pache, obviously a terrific talent. You know, we didn't see it last year necessarily, but he's expected to be a star. Langoliers, very good defensive catcher. So looks like a very nice package.
When the A's or the Rays are calling you to make a trade, you just go, oh, wait, hold on a second. Like, what names are you talking about? Then you immediately call baseball ops and say, what about this guy? Why do they like this guy? Like, why do they even say his name? So the A's do very well on these trades.
MLB.com, the Braves, listen, right now, the Oakland A's have gotten the Braves first, second, sixth, and 14th overall rated prospects in this deal. So a good move for the A's.
Yeah. And for the Braves. Right? Also,
Absolutely.
you got to give to get. But right.
I mean, you just, you know, it's make trading tough players away and making big trades, and you get attached.
Anything else, guys?
Thanks, Alex.
The trade sending shockwaves through Major League Baseball, and when the trade came down, we were meeting with Braves manager Brian Snitker following the first day of spring training. And while Freddie Freeman does still remain a free agent, you can tell potentially losing the former MVP would have a big impact on this organization.
What he's meant to my career and just, you know, the professional that he is, you know, I've learned so much.
Just feel his contributions throughout the organization, the way he mentors and helps younger players along with the process.
He's been our guy for a number of years, and personally, he's meant a lot to me. Going into the whole thing, I knew that there was that possibility. At some point in time, he may not be here.
While Braves general manager Alex Anthopoulos couldn't say anything specifically about Freddie Freeman, he did tell us that it was one of the toughest decisions of his career, making that trade for Matt Olson. Now this team can continue to move on and fill other needs heading into spring training.
Jeff Passan's reporting right now that the Braves and Oakland are in agreement to trade that will send all-star first baseman Matt Olson to the Braves. Your thoughts on that? I don't have really, that's new for me. You know, I've been out here for the last 2.5 hours, so What's your overall thoughts as Matt as a player? Yeah, no, I mean, it's I really don't have, you just said it, so I really don't have any right now.
I mean, that would mean that Freddie is likely not coming back. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, no, I knew that was I'll put it this way, I knew that was a possibility. He's a free agent, so, going into the whole thing, I knew that there was that possibility. At some point in time, he may not be here. And if not, then, we'll continue on with who we got.
What does he mean to the Braves?
No, I mean, he's been our guy for a number of years, and personally, he's meant a lot to me. But we'll see. With this move of Matt Olson, does that mean Freddie Freeman will no longer be in your future plans?
Yeah, look, I mean, unfortunately, just the way the rules are set up, I can't get into discussing any free agents. I know, I understand the question for sure. It's just the way these rules are set up. So, obviously, we made a trade today. We traded for Matt Olson to play first base, and I'm excited to have him. And it's obviously tough to part with a lot of really good young talent. But it's been tough. It's been a challenging offseason just with having a short amount of time. Game starting Friday. First base has been something we've been wanting to settle, and it felt like it needed to be the first domino for our offseason because we have other things to do. So, I know every team's going through the same thing, trying to build their team. So, tough trade to make. Really, when you're trading that much talent, it was really tough. But excited about Matt joining the club.
Alex, what makes you excited about Matt?
He's just obviously a very good player. I think the performance speaks for itself. Defense, offense, what we know of the makeup, the person, the character. He certainly checks all those boxes. One of the best young first basemen in the game. So, and that's why it was so expensive. So, we're excited to have him.
When did you perhaps get the sense that you guys wouldn't be able to re-sign Freddie, so you needed to go this route?
Yeah, same thing. I can't get into any free agents. I could just tell you that, obviously, it was obvious. I know there was a lot of talk about guys like Olson being out there in trade. Today, things just accelerated. And it got to the point where we had something that we could do, and it's a tough decision to make to say yes, but we ultimately made that decision, and it just allows us to move on with our offseason. We have other holes to fill in the team, and we kept every day felt like it was getting harder to wait because of the other areas we have to fill. Ronald Acuna likely can't play the field till late May at this point. And we're going to have to figure out some outfield and some other spots as well.
Alex, what's the thought behind making this move before Freddie's situation is resolved?
Yeah, so I understand the question. It's the same thing. I guess I'd say this, without being able to talk specifically. Obviously everyone's working the off season right now and doing their best to line things up. And we tried to make multiple moves, whether that's rotation, bullpen, position players. And this was the only deal for us that we were prepared to make at this time. And obviously we've explored a lot of things. We're going to continue to explore a lot of things. But other than the deals we made before with guys like Pena and so on, this was the first thing that that made sense for us, as hard as it was to do.
How hard, Alex, is it, without getting any specifics about the free agents, how hard is it, this signals the end of the Freddie era, so how hard was that aspect of it for you, because he's such a beloved figure here?
Yeah, and I know, I get it, trust me, you could keep coming with that. Look, I'd say this was I've been here 4 years, I'm entering my 5th, this was the hardest decision, transaction that I've had to make.
I go generally on this, but how much does public relations sort of ever enter your mind when you're thinking about that with, the fall from this and did this trade that all feel different in this offseason with that position?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you weigh everything, but at the end of the day, we have to build the best team that we can with the resources that we have, whether that's, signing players, trading for players, and so on. So I understand in this job, trust me, I've been through it a lot. There's a lot of criticism that comes with it. That's just part of the territory. No one enjoys it, but it's my 11th year, going into my 11th year as a GM, so I've lived through a lot of it. And I've always maintained I have to do what I feel is best for the organization, as hard as those things are to do.
Alex, did you reach out to Freddie? when you knew this deal was coming down?
Yeah, I just, I think once the free agency period is done and all that, I'll be able to speak about any free agents and things like that. I know the rules are so strict when it comes to those things.
You gave up on what some people have as 3 of your top 10 prospects to get Matt. What makes that worth it? What about Matt's skill set makes it?
I mean, he's a great player, but I mean, look, it's tough. I mean, I guess it's, when you're talking about fair deals, I guess they're supposed to hurt. It hurts. This is the most talent we've traded since I've been in Atlanta. This is the best group of players, all of the above. So those guys are all really good. They were all really tough to move. But obviously Matt's a fantastic player too, and you're gonna, the adage, you have to give up, you have to give to get, and so on. And with where we are as a club right now, coming off the World Series, and I think we still feel good about a very competitive, contending club. And you trade for you're trading for now, and you're trading down the road. So, but look, obviously, Matt's track record and what he's done, it speaks for itself. Again, he's one of the elite players in the game. And, rightfully so, it was going to cost a lot.
What's his contract situation? And we give you an
He's arbitration eligible. Look, we just made the trade, and we don't ever get into that kind of stuff,
You guys are losing a leader in Freddie. What do you know about Matt makeup-wise in terms of?
Yeah, I mean, just like I could speak for Matt, fantastic. Everybody has unbelievable things to say. So, we do a lot of work on that. That's always been a priority since I've been here in Atlanta. Everybody that we bring in, we spend a lot of time, and the reviews on Matt are fantastic, and I'm excited to get to know him more.
Brian mentioned that he knows Matt from working some camps with him and things. Did you pick his brain at all just on the makeup there?
Yeah, I'll ask anybody when it comes to, players, makeup, things like that. I just think more the better in terms of information. Anyone that's crossed paths, you're trying to do as much work as you can. So everyone has fantastic things to say.
Have you talked to Matt?
Yeah,
I
talked to him.
Conversation?
He was great. He was excited. Obviously, he's from Atlanta. Competitive club. I think I saw him. He did media there, and he said, if there's one place he wanted to go, it was going to be here. So he was very, very excited. Just came across as just a class act, which is what we had heard about him.
Did he give you an indication when he'll be in camp?
We're actually going through that now. So obviously he's in Arizona, time change, we're having to pack up and all that. So we're going to work through that. I'm not sure yet.
Pache seems to have gone pretty close with Acuna. I know they showed up yesterday in the matching SUVs and everything. Do you feel the need to address the clubhouse personally after a series of moves like this? Is that something you'll do? Or
I'm always available to the players. I'm always around. I walk around. I talk to them. I feel like and I think the players are comfortable enough talking to me as well. So I'm not a big team meeting guy as a GM. Normally the manager, the players do that kind of stuff. But I'm around, and obviously players, I think, are pretty comfortable. I don't want to speak for them, but in my experiences here in Atlanta, I've been able to communicate pretty well with them.
How did Snit take that news of the trade?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's happened so fast, right? So it's all happened today. So really, it was things, So he just. He's excited to get Matt. Obviously, he's a great player. So if he knows we have to fill the roster, and he's worried about the guys that are here, and he knows we still have some holes, and I know I still have work to do, especially with not only our games starting Friday, but the season's starting, and guys have to get ready, and every game's going to count in this division. Is unbelievable. So every club is adding and trying to be competitive. The Washington Nationals, even though they traded guys last year, they keep adding. The Marlins obviously have done some fantastic things. Obviously the Phillies. All of us are trying to win, so it's going to be the NL East is going to be a grind.
When you say the trade happened today, you mean you came around to the players actually that are going there? You've been talking to them for a while, but how long?
We just, you stay like anything. You're trying to get a sense of all off season, but we didn't have an off season because we were locked out. So once we started back up, we didn't really get serious with them until last night, and then it came together today.
Alex, I claim to be a body, emotions expert, but you seem kind of bummed out. Just when you pull off his deal, you should be excited. No,
yeah,
wrong here?
Yeah, like I said, it's I'm excited to get Matt, but it's tough.
You keep saying that this is one of the toughest deals that you've had to make. It may be obvious because you keep talking about how many prospects you gave up. Is it anything beyond that, or is it because of?
Yeah, sure, but I can't get into that. So it's a tough deal.
Alex, at what point in time did you lose confidence that you might get ready?
I can't get into specifics. Last night we finally said, look, we're going to try to move forward. I'm trying to get this trade done and see where it goes, and we got it done today.
It's tough to get rid of Freddie, but you've got 2 years of a younger Matt Olson. You have $18 more million to spend now. There is some good to this deal. How do you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's trying to put the team together with payroll and things like that. You're always trying to balance that. I know, obviously, fans are always going to want more. Front offices are always going to want more. Our payroll's going up. It's been the highest it's ever been in the history of the Braves each year I've been here. Obviously, we went back in 20 compared to what we were at 2019, but we got back there by the end of 21. So we've climbed. I know it's a topic. I get it, but we continue to climb. But look, there's a limit to how high we're going to go. And I'm going to work within that. You know, I've never been one to complain, and I'm happy with the relationship and all the resources that I get from Terry McGurk. And whatever resources we have, I'm going to do my best to put the best club on the field, but that means making some tough calls.
What are you going up again this year?
Yeah, it's going up again.
What do you think you guys stand in the division with the Mets adding and then the Phillies adding?
You know what? I mean, I'm aware of what everyone's doing, but we never react, and I worry all the time, right? I look at every team, and I think every team's great, but especially when they keep adding. So we really do just try to worry about ourselves, build the best club that we can, and look to Snit and the players the credit. You know, I don't think anyone's expected us to win the division. In the last 4 years, these guys have gotten it done. So I stress about it every year. It's a grind. I'm still in shock every time we've won, but I'm obviously elated. And it's a challenge, and I don't think that, you know, it continues to get harder.
I know you can't speak to specifics, but as you move forward, are you anticipating you're going to have a lot of conversations with fans about the direction?
You know what? I mean, I'm around Atlanta a lot. My kids play sports and schools and all that, so fans have been good to me. You know, I've always been very polite to me. Obviously, I get asked questions and things like that, but Atlanta fans have just been so respectful everywhere I've been, and I think I'm kind of below the radar overall, but I'm out there and around. But, you know, I do stuff for the organization and things like that, and, you know, my view of it is the players, the manager, they're the ones that are the spokespeople for the club. I understand I'm accountable for trades and signings, but I don't think people are paying to come see me be a GM, right? It's about the players. So I think as long as we hopefully do a good job and put a good team on the field, they should be pleased.
Alex, have you ever had a move in your career that's had so much emotion around
Nope, not even close.
What? I mean, I know we can't get into specifics, but I gotta ask why.
I mean, you know, it's trading tough players away and making big trades, and you get attached.
Anything else, guys?
Thanks, Alex.
Hit that like button, swing at the subscribe button, and hit a home run on that notification bell. Thank you for watching the Improbable Podcast. Have an improbably awesome rest of your day.